day. But you know what? That should be every day. But we're going to talk about a lot of great things today. We got this absolutely fantastic guest that's going to be coming on, going to be sharing some things with us. And we are just going to dive off into a lot of these things. Of course, you got my co-host, Dr. Michael Mantell, here again today. And of course, co-host, Dr. Michelle Cooley. How are you doing, Dr. Michelle Cooley?
I'm doing great. I am excited, about this guest today and our guest co-host, of course, but about this guest today because my brother's in the same specialty as she is. And he's always known he wanted to be this particular type of doctor ever since he was 6 years old. So I do believe it's something at a very young age, but I'm not going to spoil everything. So I'm excited today.
What about you, Dr. Michael Mantell? How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I am doing phenomenal, especially with this guest today in our 4th episode of 360 Degree Health. This is going to be the beacon that people are waiting to learn more about because it's about a demographic that we care a great deal about, children and teens today who are really struggling and suffering.
Absolutely. So, I want to get this show started. So wherever you're watching it at, whether you watch on E360 television, Transverse TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, or 45 other different live platforms, welcome to the show. If you want to be part of the conversation, just go to your platform that you're watching us on. Ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. Michelle, let's get it started. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely wonderful superstar guest we have?
Oh, most definitely. So 360 Degree Health, Children, Adolescent Development. And we're having a conversation with Dr. Hilary Bowers. She's the founding director of Behavioral and Mental Health Services at Children's Primary Care Medical Group. And Dr. James J.C. Cooley and our guest co-host, Dr. Mantell, will discuss with Dr. Bowers why the importance of understanding the key stages in child and adolescent development are crucial for identifying and addressing behavioral and mental health issues in children. We're going to discuss common behavioral and mental health concerns in children, parenting strategies, screen time and technology, school and academic challenges, preventive measures, and resource. So I'll tell you about our guest today, Dr. Hilary Bowers. Again, founding director of Behavioral and Mental Health Services at Children's Primary Care Medical Group, which provides health care at 28 offices across San Diego and Riverside counties and serves the needs of 280,000 children and adolescents. In addition, she's the lead pediatrician of the Primary Care Mental Health Integration Program as part of the Transforming Mental Health Initiative at Rady's Children's Hospital in San Diego. Graduate magna cum laude from the University of Pennsylvania and received her medical degree from the University of Washington. She performed early research on the efficacy of telemedicine to serve rural populations. She completed her internship and residency at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, California, with additional training at Boston Medical Center. She has been invited as a speaker to a number of multidisciplinary conferences addressing the delivery of behavioral and mental health care, and she regularly interacts with California's pediatric communities. She is committed to bringing mental health care into the primary care home and is a passionate advocate for improved and timely access to quality pediatric behavior and mental health care. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Hilary Bowers.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me on. I was looking over my shoulder to see who she was talking about. It sounded fantastic. I want to hear from her too. It's great.
It's an absolute pleasure having you on the show, Dr. Bowers.
Thank you.
So can we start? Can you tell our viewers and listeners a little bit more about you, where you grew up, what makes you tick, and why you're so passionate about this great job?
Absolutely. So I was born in Tennessee, a little known fact. You can't really tell by the way I talk because my parents were both from the East Coast. So I talked more like them. And so I was out in the Deep South for 6 years. And then we moved to Iowa. And I grew up mostly in Iowa City, Iowa. The University of Iowa is there. Go Hawks. They're actually playing basketball here in town tomorrow, and Friday. And then I went to the University of Pennsylvania for undergrad. I majored in folklore and folk life with a minor in chemistry. And
Wow.
then I took a couple years out. I know, like I'm probably the only physician you're going to meet with a major in folklore as an undergrad, but I think it really was really quite useful, because the whole point of folklore is looking and studying groups of people and then taking what we call that second head. So can you think, so I have my worldview, I have my lens, how I was brought up, all the things I've been exposed to, but now can I put myself in somebody else's shoes to try to see the world from their point of view? I may or may not agree, but can I try, right? And so I think that really cultivates that empathy. So that it was a really early part. And I took some alternative medicine classes as an undergrad as well, thinking about complementary and alternative medicine. I took a couple of years out and supported myself, worked in Seattle, and then at the University of Washington as well, in the news and community relations office. So that's a very different side of medicine, getting to see the administrative side, but also seeing how do we interact with the public? How do we translate research into language that people can understand? So that was very informative. And then I went to medical school at the University of Washington, go Huskies, and internship and residency down at Cedars-Sinai, as your wife said, in Los Angeles. And we've been down here in San Diego since 2006. And I've been with children's primary care since 2007.
One quick question before I turn it to Dr. Mantell. Which part of Tennessee?
Nashville. So Vanderbilt is specifically where I was born. So we were there for a couple of years.
Yeah, I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Reason I asked that.
There we go. See?
And my brother lives in Memphis. So here we are.
Who knew?
Wow,
Tennessee was bringing us together.
Yeah. Well, I'm just delighted that you're here, because you are a true superstar in this arena. And I think that your ability to engage and communicate and I think express the compassion you feel comes across already. And so I know this is going to be a part one discussion, because there's so much to talk about. Mental health is an important part of children's overall health and well-being. And it's mental, it's emotional, it's behavioral. It's the way they think and feel and act. And it plays a role in how children handle stress that they're dealing with today, relate to others, learn in school. And we know that today we have labels of ADHD, anxiety, behavior problems, depression. These are the common diagnoses. I want to start by asking you, what in the world is going on? We see skyrocketing rates of emotional distress amongst children. What's your sense of what's happening to kids today?
So I think it's very multifactorial, which is great, because it means there's definitely different angles we can approach the challenge and come up with solutions, but also frustrating because it's multifactorial. It's not like, oh, I have strep throat, here's an antibiotic, your strep throat is gone, right? You feel better, everything's better. This is one where it takes persistence and insistence to continue to navigate that piece. So one, I'm going to just address the elephant in the room, which is the COVID pandemic. This had a huge impact on children and adolescents. You can't go back in time. You can't change how we reacted to things. But what we can say is, look, we know this impacted. There are kids who, when they first went back to school, were in 9th grade. And the last time they had been in school in person was in elementary school. So think about that divide between someone who's 10 and someone who's 14, and then they didn't have that socialization opportunity that you expect in middle school. You can't expect them to act like a quote unquote typical 9th grader, right? They're going to act like a 6th grader or 5th grader, because that was the last time they were really in public. So we can't underestimate how much that has impacted, and then also impacted the parents and how their socialization was down. And so when we don't have those organic opportunities, then we have to make those in person. So I think the COVID pandemic was huge. Smartphones. This is another elephant in the room. There's a lot of elephants in behavioral mental health.
Sure.
But having that device that is so omnipresent be at the phone, having, all the social media apps that we have, and having kids come on so early. I mean, you have kids who are 9 years old. I know everything says you have to be 13 to have an account, but if we look around, we'll see 9, 10, 11-year-olds on there. And at that age, it's like, oh, yay, someone likes me. This is awesome. And even that adolescent brain, woohoo, someone likes me. But it's not real. It's not tangible in the same way that someone really sees you for who you are, right? I think there's that famous New Yorker cartoon, like on the internet, nobody knows you're a dog, right? You could be anybody, which
Right.
beautiful, because you could reinvent yourself. Maybe you're in a challenging home situation and you reach out online, you find people who understand you, and you might be subjected to people who are coming after you who aren't your age and aren't appropriate for you to be interacting with. And because it's very easy now to, if you're online, you just shut your computer, I don't want to talk to you, right?
Right,
As
right.
if you're in person, you actually have to have that conversation. So I think we, and this may be something we come back to after the break, but thinking about how does social media and all of that really interconnect with our kids and their mental health.
Let's
Great.
hold that thought. Let's hold that thought, because I'm liking what I'm hearing right now. We're going to take a station break, but wherever you're watching this, everyone, before the conversation, all you got to do is go to the platform that you're on, ask this great guest any question that you might have, or ask Dr. Michael Mantell, or ask myself. We're going to get you an answer. It's your life. We'll see you shortly after the break.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And as you see, you just had a tab in the first segment, what's to come. I can tell you right now, this doc right here is absolutely fantastic, intelligent, smart, and just listening to her, you know that she knows what she's doing, and that she can help a lot of folks out. I know she's responsible for 280,000 in her area right now, but she can help you out as well if you got a child or a young adult or adolescent that might be having problems. You might want to look into this doc right here. Hey Doc, I was so impressed in the first segment. I had forgot about the break.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign.
Right, exactly.
Showing and you're focused. I wanted to bring up, because during the break you played a video of yourself, and one of the things you said is to love yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I knew you were going
I
to
think
pick up on
that
that.
is so beautiful, and that is something that a lot of our adolescents don't have. And so part of adolescent, we talk about developmental stages and what is the expected development. What is the expected things we want during that adolescent phase is that separation from the nuclear family, whoever they're living with, and the growing into yourself. What is my personality? Who am I? Right? What do I stand for? Do I wear a green hat? Do I wear a pink hat? Do I play clarinet? Am I on the soccer team? Like, what is going on? What speaks to me? And I think, to tie this back in what we were talking about with social media, a lot of adolescents find that reinforcement and that support and that, yay, you're awesome, online.
So, Dr. Bowers, let's discuss some of the signs and symptoms that parents need to pay attention to of common behavioral, emotional distress. What should parents pick up and say, that could be a problem?
The biggest thing is to know, what is your kiddo like at what we call baseline? What's the everyday action? And is there a change? What is different in your kid? So this requires you being active in your child's life, having dinners together or breakfast together, like having at least one meal a day where everyone's checking in. So what do we see? Kids aren't coming to the table anymore for meals. Right. They're spending more time in their room.
Right.
Their friends come over and say, hey, let's go hang out down at the park, or let's go to the movies. And your child is declining, even from their BFF. They say, no way. They don't get up. They're wearing the same clothes day after day after day. Their room is messy. I know a lot of parents right now are going to say, yeah, my adolescent's room is messy. But, is it all that you clean it up and then it's just right back? There's bowls, there's things everywhere. Maybe you have a child who used to like to wear makeup, right? They spent quite a bit of time in the morning getting ready. They did their hair, they did makeup, they had special clothes. Now they're not doing any of that. So is there a loss of interest in what the adolescent values? That they just drop out of their extracurriculars. Maybe you see their grades going down. Maybe you see new piercings or tattoos in the older kids, right? Maybe there's just a whole new group of friends coming around. Maybe your child's being a little more secretive. For the younger kids, often it's a little more explosive. So they're tantruming. It's harder to get them out of the house. The transitions in life are more challenging. Everything just becomes crying. These are all signs that something's not going great in your kid's life.
So what we have is a system, at least we've had a system, where parents are concerned. They bring the child to the doctor, and what does the doctor do? Take this medication. Medication. Instead of someone like yourself, who's multidisciplinary, integrative, perhaps more holistic, and has a variety of interventions.
Right.
Now, ADHD is just exploded, right? Attention deficit hyperactive disorder. And there's all these medications that people take. So talk a little bit about why we have seen an increase in specifically ADHD. We can talk about depression and anxiety as well, but particularly ADHD. And what else can people do besides medicate?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So why have we seen an increase in the behavior? I think it's in part through education, because we're willing to talk about quote unquote mental health diagnoses more. People are more aware. I have families where the child is diagnosed and the parent goes, that sounds just like me.
Right.
Super genetic. Right? If you are an adult with a diagnosis of ADHD, about 25% of your kids on average will have a diagnosis as well at some point. So I think there's awareness. What do we do about it? I love it when people come to their pediatrician and talk. Unfortunately, a lot of people think, oh, well, it's the pediatrician. That's just a shot doctor. I don't want to burden them with these things. Oh, it's a school problem, but it's not. It's not just a school issue, right? It's a life issue, and your pediatrician is there. So please, this is my plug. Come talk to your pediatrician about it. in terms of how do we address ADHD, behavioral modification is really the foundation. Because when you make these behavioral changes, when you help teach the child, as well as the adults around them, how to deal with the situation, then they can take those skills on for life. This is, medication, it's an excellent tool. It's not for everybody. But for me, I really view it as part of the overall plan of care. It is a tool, just like behavioral modification, just like maybe you're increasing fruit and vegetable, you're increasing physical activity. These are all tools to help with the overall plan of care, which is we have a kiddo with ADHD. They can't sit still. They're having trouble focusing. They're spacing out. They're not getting their work done. The self-esteem is going down. What are concrete action items that we can control? You can control what goes in your body, right? You can say, all right, you know what? We used to eat out 5 days a week. We're only going to eat out 4. And then in a few weeks, we'll go down to 3. Like, you have to have those realistic goals to make that. So what can you do? I'm going to McDonald's. Okay, go to McDonald's. But maybe instead of fries, you'll get the fruit cup. Mm-hmm. Maybe instead of a soda, you'll get a milk, right?
But
so
what's
that makes a difference. Go ahead.
What's the parent to do when the kid says, I don't want that fruit cup. I want French fries, and throws a fit in the restaurant?
Yeah.
So how can we equip parents to feel like they're not alone? They have
100%.
some tools. What can we do?
So one is, I always say, leading by example. And I have a sneaking suspicion that both of you gentlemen have said this as well in the past, but you have to lead by example. So if you as a parent are having, if we'll go along with the McDonald's analogy, the double Big Mac, the extra fries, a huge soda, but you're telling your kid to have the fruit cup, that's not really going to work. So one is doing that. 2, maybe you just don't go to McDonald's for a period of time, right? So if it isn't even an option, then you're not going to get the fight. I have families like, oh, the kid's always snacking. It's so frustrating. We're fighting about it. Don't buy the food, because if it's not in the home, you can't fight about it. You can also involve your child in the choice. I always tell people, you know what? Make Dr. Bowers the quote unquote bad guy, right? Dr. Bowers says we need to work on healthy eating, and we're doing it as a family. So let's look at the menu. Let's look at what are some healthier choices. And then we get a choice. Do you really want the French fries? You don't want the fruit cup? Awesome. Then that means we're going to have the milk instead of the soda. Right. Wow. So you can involve the kid. It's like the younger kid who really wants to dress themselves. And some parents get very bent. And I'm always like, if it's clean, it's good. It's a win for a 3-year-old. That's great. That's a great day. So do you want the red shirt or do you want the blue shirt? So I think very concretely involving the child, but only give them choices where you would be willing to accept a yes answer.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you have for the parents that that won't set the example like that? Mm-hmm. I mean, and they go out and break the rules and go to McDonald's and Burger King and do all that. What advice would you give them? If I know we got someone probably listening in on the show right now, watching the show.
So I acknowledge that it's very hard to make change. It's very hard. I totally get it. It's super hard. But we have to say, what is our goal? Is our goal to not have our child have a tantrum today? Or is our goal to have our child be a productive human in greater society, that our child's going to be able to make bigger decisions on their own? And that's the goal. So I try to change their mindset a little bit, kind of work on that. If the parent is like, yeah, food, Dr. Bowers, ain't going to happen. It's just not. So then I try to find a different goal. Right. I just won't even talk about it. Could we, you have a dog. Let's have the child help walk the dog once a day. Could I work on some other aspect that I know will also be helpful? Like in my mind, I got a whole list of things that could potentially be changed. This one won't work. Fine. I'm not going to push it. Let's find something else that will. I always say when you have change, you can do the easiest one, or you can do the one that you think is going to have the biggest impact. But the biggest impact one may be really, really challenging. So I say, start with the easy one. And then the next easy one, and the next easy one, and the next easy one. And next thing you know, you've climbed part of that mountain. And you've made 4 or 5 changes. Another thing I say is, if you have one healthy change a month, just one, 1 per 4 weeks. At the end of a year, you have, and this is why I ask the kids to do a little math, but I won't make you do it, 12 months, right? So you have 12 changes. That's huge. 12
Right.
changes is amazing. But if you say, oh, you have to make 12 changes right up front, no one's buying in. I
true.
also work a lot on how do we view the child's behavior. So we definitely have some parents who presume that because the child is younger, they have to obey everything the parent says. And I'm not saying the parent isn't in charge, but it is okay for the parent to sit on the floor and talk to their kid if the kid is, 3, they're not so tall. And by doing that, you're decreasing that stress level. You're having more of an eye-to-eye conversation. The kid's not going to feel as threatened. Guess what? They're probably more likely to do what you'd like them to be doing.
Right.
So thinking that the kid's behavior, I get parents coming in, they're so disrespectful. They're doing this on purpose. They're hurting me. They're making me embarrassed in front of my friends. So I try to get the parents to step back and let's look at it from the kid's point of view. It's that focal or double head thing, right? Like, let's think it from the other side. Maybe it's because we've been at the place for 3 hours and the kid doesn't really like it. And they're trying to tell you, hey, Mom, I need to go home. I'm done. So maybe in the future, if you really want to spend 6 hours with your friends, don't bring your kid. Like, set yourself up for success, or have a little communication way to say, how does a kid get to tap out if they need to?
I just said to a parent in a first session, they were concerned about their 9-year-old daughter, and they were going on and on and on with this daughter does wrong.
Right.
I said, I just have one question. She said, oh, I'm sorry for going on. So I said, no, just one question. Does your daughter do anything right?
Yeah.
She said, oh my God, look at the way I'm thinking about her.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Dr. Cooley?
Wow. I think this is a great show so far. Yeah, I think that everything that we're talking about up to this point, and I know we got a lot more, is on point, and you guys are fantastic. But we're going to take a station break. But we're going to come back. We're going to pick it up. And I know that you all are enjoying this show. So why don't you go to the platform that you're on, ask any question that you might have, become part of the conversation, and also help solve some solutions. You might have some ideas that we have came up with. All you have to do is share. Remember, it's your life. And we'll be back shortly after the break.
I never wanna leave. Yeah, I'm right where I wanna be. We got something you and me, and I can't get rid of this feeling. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Hey, I'm so drawn to you. I'm so drawn to you. Yeah, yeah.
Hello, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be on it, to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, I'm tickled pink over here because Dr. Bowers she's bringing it. Of course, you already know Dr. Mike is always going to bring it, but she's bringing it, and this information is so valuable to all of us, and just some of the things that we probably haven't been focusing on, just like what Dr. Mike said a few minutes ago about the mother that was criticizing her daughter, not really criticizing, she didn't know it. And he said, do you have anything good to say about her? I mean, a lot of times we have to catch ourselves because we get caught up in just seeing all of the bad things, and we identify those bad things, bad habits or whatever, and we become a habit or bad parent. And when we're doing those things, we got to always parent and also lift, I believe, and these two doctors will explain that a little bit more. We have to always make sure that our kids, our adolescents are respectful, understanding, and we give them the love and the compassion that they need. And it cannot all be negative.
Yeah.
Cannot all be negative. It had to be a mixture, a blend in between that. And I think that's so important. That's why I think that the message that we're talking about today are so, so important. And I'm just proud to be a part of this conversation here. So hey, Dr. Bowers, I'm going to start off with the first question. I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Mike. But what has been shown to be a protective factor against adverse childhood experiences?
So ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences. So these are the things that occur in your life before the age of 18. So physical things, emotional things. So maybe you have a parent who is outside the home because they were part of the justice system. Maybe you have a parent that's using drugs. Maybe you have parents who are divorced, right? So if you have parents who are divorced, that gives you a 1 on the ACE score. And we know how prevalent divorce is in these days. Maybe you have domestic violence in the home. So there are a number of factors that give you an ACE score. And we know the higher your score, the more you are at risk. It is not a guarantee score. So that's it's not destiny, but it is a risk for increase in heart disease, increase in anxiety and depression, obesity. If you have a score of 7 or higher, you have a significantly increased risk for early death, dying 20 years earlier than you might have otherwise. So this is an ACE score. And you may notice that your pediatrician is doing something that's called the PEARLS, which is the ACE score plus a few more questions that are specific to the pediatric age group. And what has been found to be a protective factor? 1 trusted adult. Not 20, not a whole group. 1. If you have 1 adult in your life who cares that you are showing up, who cares that you're going to school and you're learning, who cares that you're, part of a team, 1 trusted adult who's willing to teach you how to make cornbread muffins, right? Something. I had to throw something Thanksgiving in there, but 1 trusted adult, because that's what I'm looking forward to. 1 trusted adult this is protective. So we are 3 adults on this call. I'm sorry, Dr. Michelle Cooley. We are 4 trusted adults who are on this call. Is there a kid that we're looking out for in our life? We can be that person. It doesn't have to be a biological parent, right? I think we all, if we look back at our own personal lives, it could be a coach, it could be a faith leader, it could be a teacher, it could be the parent of a friend. There's all kinds of adults, but the adults in our lives need to step up and realize this is their job, right?
Wow.
It's not just our kids, it's all of them.
You just said something that just brought me back to my early teen years. It was a teacher. Her name was Miss Wilson. And I was always told that I wasn't going to amount to nothing because we grew up poor, project, et cetera, et cetera. And this teacher saw something in me that no one else saw. And she said, hey, you need to focus in on, don't worry about all of these other things that's coming out. You need to focus in on this certain thing, or these certain things. I have become fond of you. I have learned to love you. That word love coming from the teacher. I ain't nobody, they don't even tell me that at home.
Right.
That changed my whole world.
Yeah.
Just like you just mentioned, my point is this. You just mentioned that it's one adult or someone, one that had to step up and let you know that you are worthy or whatever that is. And you lock in on that one. And I don't know if any parents or any others that are listening to this right here, but that one teacher changed my whole life.
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing that information, because that person.
Right. And sometimes we're blessed. We're able to go back and thank that person, but sometimes we're not for whatever reason. And so your way of thanking her, if you were never able to thank that teacher face to face, your way of thanking her is to go out and help another kid, right? Pay it forward.
Hey, Doc, something happening to your mic right now.
Something's happening to my mic. Oh, no.
Yes, it's it kind of. Do you hear that, Dr. Mike?
My mic?
Is that better? Is that better?
I hear you fine.
You can hear me. Okay.
Okay, I can hear you, but I'm getting static. But that's
So
okay.
maybe we'll keep talking and see what happens, because it was yellow and now it's green again. I'm not on here for my IT skills.
Okay.
I'm turning back over to you, Dr. Mike.
I want to ask you the idea of having a key adult figure. Many kids go to school and they have difficulties with teachers. Can we talk a little bit about that? I mean, you hear stories from parents about kids who are not doing well in school, learning disabilities, or being bullied in school, or the behavior problems in school. How can parents step in on behalf of kids when they see concerns between a teacher and a child? This is the kid, this is the adult who this child is spending hours with 5 days a week. And if that teacher doesn't like the child or is unfair, what can parents do about that?
So I think one thing is to have a frank discussion with your kid if they're old enough to have a back and forth conversation, so you can have very concrete examples. Because if the parent's going to go to the school and say, my kid doesn't like the teacher, the school's going to say, well, everyone's got a different personality. What do you want me to do about that? Right. And so that's not going to work.
Dr. Cooley, you are muted.
We're going to take a station break, but
okay.
What I need for you all to do is log out and come back in, because we have serious mic problems and the audience is not going to be able to understand.
Oh no,
that.
We need them to hear.
We'll be back in over the station.
We're logging out and logging back in.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a station break, but we'll be back. We're going to come back and we're going to do this. So I tell you, if you want to be part of this great conversation out here, do it. Just go to the comments and ask any question you might have. It's your life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll see you shortly. Hello, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley, along with my co-host, Dr. Mike Mantell. And I tell you, if you missed last week's show on the first, where we talk about 360 degrees health, you certainly don't want to miss this week's show, because we got a absolutely fantastic, wonderful, sensational guest. Dr. Mike, can you tell our viewers and our listeners about our upcoming show?
I sure will. What an honor it is to be a co-host with you and to be working with Michelle. This series, 360-Degree Health, is remarkable. We just covered lifestyle medicine, a medical specialty that uses therapeutic lifestyle interventions such as whole food, plant predominant eating, exercise, sleep, stress management, avoidance of risky substances. And you recall Jessica Matthews took us through all of the importance of positive social connections. Well, now, on our upcoming show on Wednesday, we have the very illustrious, esteemed Colin Milner, who is the founder and the president of the International Council on Active Aging. He is a founder of the active aging industry in North America. And we're going to be talking all about how to live a long health span, healthy life to be optimized in every way we can. Colin is a brilliant speaker and a presenter. Wait for the information. It will add life to your years.
Wow. Also, we got a special guest that's going to appear on there. We got the Honorable Lord 𝐓𝐇𝐈𝐒. And I tell you, it's just going to be absolutely sensational. So I tell you, tune in Wednesday, November the 8th, to It's Your Life with myself and Dr. Mike Mantell, and learn a lot about aging, learn a lot about all type of things. And I tell you what, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Hope to see you there. Thank you.
Welcome back to It's Your Life with Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We're back with our guest today, Dr. Hilary Bowers, and also the amazing guest co-host, Dr. Michael Mantell. And audience, again, if you want to join the show, please just type in your comments, ask Dr. Bowers any questions you choose to ask, and we will address it with them. Dr. Michael Mantell, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to give the floor to Dr. Bowers, though. So we were talking about what role parents can have in dealing with schools. Now, and I mean, I think so many parents are frustrated with schools today and what they can do and what they can't do. Parents do have power, and they do have the ability to influence for the best of their children's lives. I want to go back to an area you talked about because I think it's so big in the lives of so many parents, and that's technology, the devices. We see kids 1 year old, 2 years old in restaurants looking at their iPads and playing games, and you go, my God, what's happening to these kids? I have a real worry about that because it's taking life away from reality. So I want you to describe how a parent can influence taking a device away and substituting real life.
Yes. Hold on one moment, please.
Okay. Dr. Bowers is caught up in real life.
I'm so sorry. It was very noisy in the background and I needed to make it go away. So I solved my problem. In terms of parents, what can they do in the moment, right? And I think it's very easy to have the electronic device be a babysitter and to say, okay, that's going to entertain my kid, because kids are hard, but it's okay to maybe draw. One thing you brought up, the restaurant example. So things I like to tell families is have a go-to bag that you keep in the car, and it could be paper and crayons. Crayons break and crayons melt. So, do the twistables or have pencils and make sure you have a sharpener in there so that you can always take this and that you're at the restaurant, make a placemat, draw some things, have a couple of cars. If you can make a little route for the cars to go on the placemat, take a tin, like Altoids or some similar brand, get a big tin. You can actually glue a Lego grass down on there, throw a bunch of small Lego pieces in there, close it, and now this becomes a go-to Lego thing. Your kid can sit there, they open it up, it's self-contained, They can do Legos. They can build while you're waiting for your food to come in the restaurant. So these are two concrete examples of finding something that's not a screen, but is still entertaining.
So what do we do? Here's my screen. So what do we do with my pen?
Go Quakers.
Go pen. So what do we do when the kid says, "Mommy, I don't want to play with that. I just am playing here. I just want to answer my friend just wrote us something. I've got to write to a friend." What is a parent to do? I think the parents are asking for real help.
Yeah. So giving the kid
pull it away.
No. So don't just pull away. So you always need to give warning, right? Just like you as a parent, if you're in the middle of reading, if you're in the middle of cooking and your kid wants your attention, it's hard to walk away from a boiling pot. And you always say, like, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Same thing for the kid, to say, set the expectation. We're in the car. You have my phone while we're in the car. We're going into the restaurant. When we sit down, we're going to put our devices away. Or when we get the menus, we're going to put our devices away. So now you've warned the child. You've given them notice that what's going to happen next. And then you say, okay, the menus are here. It's time to put it away. And if the kid says, oh, my friend just texted me, you can say, okay, go ahead and text them back. Say, and then maybe even give them the words. Tell them, you know what? I just sat down to dinner with my family. I'll call you back in 30 minutes. So that is also telling your kid they're going to have the opportunity to talk to their friend. They're not going to miss out on that. But they're also going to get to have the opportunity to have a meal with their family that's not interrupted and not divided attention.
I love that, because what you're telling parents who are listening and watching, it's okay to say to a child, you can be on your device by telling your friend, this is not the most horrible thing in the world. Give me that thing. Give him, I want it. Because that creates more problems than, I understand you want to be on your device. Just tell your friend, or you tell your friend, or what do you think you can tell your friend? Give you that choice, right? Yeah. So this is very valuable. And I think people listening are getting permission to say to a child, I understand. That's okay.
Yeah. Right. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. You know what? I really like talking to my friends on the phone too. Like, it's a great way to keep in touch. I love it. It makes me, I have friends I talk to on the other side of the country.
Right.
It's a great way to stay in touch with them.
And
I also like spending time with my family in person. So, having that balance, I think, is really important.
What do you say to a parent who, I'm just so aware of the time, and I know we're going to need another episode, but what do you say to a parent who thinks the answer is, I'm here because the kid is oppositional, he's anxious, he's depressed, he's ADHD, he needs medication for his anxiety to calm down. And can you give him something to calm him down?
And so I spent a lot of time in the history portion of the visit. So I talk to them all together. What's going on? What's the parent thinking? What's the kid thinking? Why does the kid think they're here today? What do they see as the challenges? I spend time alone with each parent, and I spend time alone with the child. I set the stage at the beginning. It's this expectation. When I walk in, I say, we're all going to talk together. Then everyone gets an opportunity to talk to me alone. Those things are confidential. I ask the kid if they know what confidential means. So it's an opportunity for language development. But and then they have those conversations. And just like you do, I like to, when you're hearing a parent use a lot of these words that are subjective, right? To me, saying somebody's oppositional, it's a very subjective point of view, because they're oppositional to what I want. But is what I want necessary? Is that needed? So I think having that and trying to change that lens to really find out what's going on, what's the root. As we pointed out, unfortunately, a lot of parents may struggle with attention and focus challenges. Right. They may struggle with anxiety and depression. I've had parents come in and say, well, I had anxiety and nobody helped me as a kid, so they just need to bootstrap it up. And so I'll talk with the parents alone, like, well, how did that feel? Was that successful? I mean, you actually, eventually you develop coping skills, but were they the healthiest coping skills? Was it hard for you to get there? Wouldn't it be nice if we could make it a little bit easier for your kid?
Do you think that the labels that we are using today, the mental health labels, the behavioral health labels, are valuable? I want to tell you a very quick story about a youngster I took care of many, many, many years ago who had autism. And I said, I will work with you and the family and so forth, but we're never going to use that word.
Mhm.
Well, but he has it in the school and you have to write an IEP and
Mhm.
I understand he has it, but we're never going to talk about that. We're never going to use that term. Well, one day a kid comes in, he says, I'm having autistic anger today. And the mother was sitting behind him and she said, I never used the word. I never used the word. And we talked about that. And it was clear he labeled himself.
Mhm.
I wonder today, with all of the intention on ADHD, anxiety, depression, and so forth, behavior disorders, do kids label themselves? I have an eating disorder, as if it's permission. What do you think about the use of labels that parents have for their kids?
I think it's many layered, as much of this is in behavioral mental health. And so with the labels, as you said, they can be useful. So in order to get ABA services, in order to get certain things, an IEP or a 504, you must have a quote label of some sort. So you need to use those terms. You have to speak that language. But what I also try to work on is say, this doesn't define you.
Right. That's what I was getting.
This is your name. So if I'm talking about myself, my name's Hilary. My name is not anxiety, right? My name's Hilary, and I happen to have anxiety or I happen to have depression, right? And often when people are struggling with maybe some behaviors or maybe like with depression, I say, name your depression. Give it a different name. So that way, when depression comes to visit, I'm going to use the example Shirley, and I do apologize for any Shirleys in the studio audience, because I know that you're not all depressed or mean or anything, but Shirley has come to visit, and Shirley's a really bad house guest, like really terrible. But that way you're able to convey, you know what, I'm struggling with my depression right now, but I'm still Hilary. I'm still in the bus. I'm still driving the bus. I'm making those decisions. Everything else is sort of in the backseat or in the trunk. So I think you have to be very careful, especially in adolescence, where, again, there's a desire to belong to a group. And if all the cool kids have X label, I want to have X label.
Mm.
You may not have it, right? There's a phase where most kids go through where they think it's really cool to wear glasses. So they all want to wear, like, I can't see, but it's because they want to wear glasses because that's what the cool kids are doing.
Oh my God, I never wanted to wear glasses.
When
I was growing up, all the cool kids did not wear glasses.
That is correct. That is correct.
I had a pair of glasses. Oh no, I'm weird.
Right. Your 4 eyes, you're totally weird.
4 eyes, right.
So I think it's really important to think about the label. There's a nurse practitioner I work with in the community who always points out, like, if a kid has behavior that's quote unquote outside what other people are expecting, outside the norm, the kid will get a label from other people. So there's always this balance of, do you own your own? Do you get to dictate the way that people are talking about your behavior and saying, no, this is this, or are other people dictating it for you? So it's not so much for me like it has to have a name, but we need to address what's the core behavior that's challenging, and how can we empower the kid? How can we empower the family to address it in a way that then they can go out in life with a few less scrapes and bumps, right? Like a few less sharp edges.
I want to ask you a question. I know we only have a couple of moments left,
Mhm.
and this is a tough question.
Oh,
Suicide amongst adolescents today is increased. It's on the rise.
Mhm.
Can you touch on that topic for a moment or two?
Thank you for saying that for the very end, to unpack a very huge topic. Unfortunately, it is self-harm and acts of suicide attempts, as well as unfortunate completion of suicide, and kiddos are dying by suicide, is absolutely going up. I think this is a symptom of not feeling like you belong, not feeling like you have a place, not understanding, how do I cope with the feelings that I'm having, right? Am I spending so much time focused online? Am I not interacting with the humans that I live with? Do I not have people in school? Now, I understand some kids go to school and they get bullied, and I am not in any way minimizing that. That's 100%. It's never appropriate to do that. But how do we help kids find their self-worth? I think this was something that J.C. Cooley that you touched on earlier is how do you find your inherent self-worth? You had a teacher that reached out to you and saw something magical within you. How do we find that optimism, magic, and gratitude? How do we express that every day? And I know sometimes people think I'm a little optimistic all the time, but how do we do that? Because suicide is a very long-term solution for most people for a short-term problem.
Right. I love that. That's
And
great.
we don't want kids to do that. So yes, self-harm is a coping strategy, but it is not a healthy one. So I try to say, kids, you know what? You're right. You're cutting. I understand. How does it make you feel? And the kid will be like, well, I feel a little better after I cut. I'm like,
Right.
yes, people do, right? Because that stress comes out. But let's work on finding some things that are a little healthier.
Right.
And let's take like our invisible toolkit that I like to talk about, everyone carries around. That's still going to be in the toolkit, but maybe we can bury it a little bit under some healthier ones that we go to first, right?
Fabulous.
So we can do all those before we get to that coping skill.
Fabulous.
Got to
Fabulous.
last minute
Fabulous.
of the show, and this is, hey, Dr. Bauer, we got to do this again.
I would
Dr.
love
Mike,
to. Thank you so much.
We got to do this again. This is so interesting, and the way that you explain your story, the way that you explain what you're doing to help out society is so beautiful, so wonderful. So I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. I do believe that Dr. Mike and I mean, if he agree, we're probably going to extend this E360 health because it's benefiting so many people. So
Yes.
thank you, Dr. Mike. Always, my friend.
Thank you very much. I want to wish everyone a happy, healthy, hopeful, gratitude-filled Thanksgiving.
And,
Yes.
and I have to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another great show. Most importantly, I've got to thank our viewers and listeners for tuning in.
Oh.
To Cooley Show, It's Your Life. I want you to always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time. Well, not tomorrow, Friday, same time, same place. It's Your Life. We'll see you then.